Doll's eyes. In the shaded forests of the eastern United States, this plant grows quietly beneath the trees and produces something that does not look like it belongs in nature. Its white berries sit on thick red stalks. Each one has a dark spot at the tip that makes it look exactly like a small eye, staring outward from the stem. When the berries are fully developed, the plant stops looking like a woodland flower and starts looking like something left there on purpose. The name is almost too accurate. Doll's eyes, known in botany as white baneberry, is found across the eastern half of the country, from the Appalachian forests up through New England and into the Midwest. It prefers rich, moist woodland soil and grows in the same understory where people hike, forage, and let children explore. The berries are highly toxic. They contain compounds that affect the heart directly, disrupting the electrical signals that keep it beating in rhythm. Birds can eat them safely and carry the seeds through the forest. For humans and most mammals, even a small number of berries is enough to cause serious harm. The plant does not warn you with thorns or a bad smell. Its defense is entirely chemical and entirely hidden inside something that looks fragile and almost decorative. In a quiet eastern forest, Doll's eyes is a reminder that the most unsettling things do not always make noise. Ghost orchid. In the swamps of southern Florida, this plant spends most of its life as nothing visible at all. It has no leaves. Its roots grip the surface of a cypress or pop ash tree and blend almost perfectly into the bark. For months or years at a time, it sits there invisible, absorbing moisture from the humid air and nutrients directly through its roots. There is no green above the surface, no stem, no sign that anything is living there. Then it blooms. The flower appears on a thin stalk rising from the bark and opens into something that does not look like it was made by the same rules as other flowers. White, long-lipped, and hanging in mid-air without visible support, it looks less like a plant and more like something suspended. Some describe it as a ghost. Others say it looks like a white frog leaping from a tree. The ghost orchid blooms rarely, sometimes only once every few years, and only at night. Its pollinator is a single moth species, the giant sphinx moth, the only insect with a tongue long enough to reach the nectar at the base of the flower. If that moth is not present when the flower opens, the bloom closes without reproducing, and the plant disappears again into the bark. The ghost orchid is one of the most searched and photographed plants in Florida. It is also one of the most illegally poached. People have been convicted for stealing them from protected swamps. When removed from their trees, they die. They cannot be replanted. They exist only where they choose to exist, and nowhere else. It matters because it shows that some things cannot be moved, kept, or controlled. They can only be found. Welwitschia. In the Namib Desert of southern Africa, this plant looks less like something alive, and more like wreckage left behind by another era entirely. It has a short, wide trunk that barely rises above the ground. From that trunk, it grows exactly 2 leaves. Those leaves never stop growing and never fall off. Over centuries, the wind tears them into long, twisted strips that spread across the sand like tattered ribbons. An old plant can look like a pile of dried debris surrounding a wooden disc. It does not look like it is alive. Some individuals have been alive for more than 2,000 years. Welwitschia survives in one of the driest environments on Earth, where rain may not fall for years at a time. It does not solve this problem the way most plants do. Instead of waiting for rain, it absorbs water from the coastal fog that rolls in from the Atlantic Ocean. Those 2 leaves, as ragged and torn as they appear, are constantly collecting moisture from the air. The desert air itself becomes the water supply. It produces separate male and female cones on different plants, making it closer in biology to an ancient conifer than to any modern flowering plant. It is a living remnant of a plant group that was common when dinosaurs were alive. Almost everything related to it is extinct. This one plant in one coastal desert kept going. Welwitschia matters because it proves that survival does not always require adaptation. Sometimes it just requires refusing to stop. Sandbox Tree. In the tropical forests of Central and South America, this tree announces itself before you ever see the fruit. The trunk is covered in sharp, thick spines. The sap, if it contacts skin, causes chemical burns. Standing near it requires attention in a way that most trees do not. The seed pods are where it becomes something else entirely. The pods are shaped like small pumpkins and are fixed to the branches while they dry. As the moisture leaves the casing, pressure builds inside, the way a coiled spring stores energy before release. There is no gradual process. When the internal pressure exceeds the structural limit of the pod, it ruptures all at once. The sound has been described by people nearby as a gunshot. The seeds launch outward at speeds that have been measured at over 150 miles per hour. They scatter up to 100 feet in every direction from the tree. The seeds themselves are not toxic. The tree does not need them to be. Dragon blood tree. On the island of Socotra, off the coast of Yemen, this tree looks less like something that grew and more like something that was designed. Its trunk rises from dry, rocky ground and then opens into a dense, perfectly flat canopy, shaped almost exactly like an upturned mushroom or an open umbrella. The leaves grow only at the tips of the outermost branches, which means that from below, the tree creates a canopy so dense that almost no sunlight reaches the ground beneath it. That shape is not an accident. In an environment with almost no rainfall, the tree collects moisture from the air and channels it down the branches toward the trunk and roots. The canopy also shades the soil beneath it, reducing evaporation and creating conditions where the tree's own seeds can germinate. The tree builds its own microclimate. It matters because it shows what happens when evolution is given enough time and enough isolation to build something entirely on its own terms. Rainbow eucalyptus. In the rainforests of the Philippines, Indonesia, and Papua New Guinea, this tree does something that trees are not supposed to do. Its bark peels. Most trees that shed bark reveal pale or gray wood underneath. The rainbow eucalyptus reveals something different. As the outer layer peels away in strips, the exposed inner bark is bright green. As that layer ages over the following weeks and months, it transitions through shades of blue, purple, orange, and finally dark red before peeling away itself. Because different parts of the trunk are at different stages of this cycle at any given time, a mature tree can display all of those colors simultaneously across its surface. This is not a trick of light or moisture. It is the actual color of the bark at each stage of its exposure cycle. The tree is the most naturally colorful bark of any tree on Earth. Rainbow eucalyptus grows faster than almost any other hardwood tree. In the right conditions, it can add 6 feet of height in a single year. It is cultivated in Hawaii, Florida, and other warm climates in the United States, where people plant it as an ornamental tree. In its native range, it is used for pulpwood. The paper industry grows it specifically because of how fast and how large it gets. Sensitive plant. In disturbed soils, roadsides, and open fields across the southern United States, Central America, and large parts of South America, this plant grows close to the ground and looks like a small fern with pink flowers. Touch one of the leaves, and it folds shut in under a second. The movement is not a reflex in the way animal reflexes work. It does not use muscles or a nervous system. The mechanism is hydraulic. At the base of each leaflet and at each junction along the stem is a structure called a pulvinus, a small organ filled with water. When the leaf is touched, an electrical signal travels through the plant, and that signal causes the water to shift rapidly out of the cells in the pulvinus. Without the water pressure supporting the structure, the leaf collapses. The movement is powered entirely by changes in water pressure within the plant's own cells. The full leaf can close in a fraction of a second. If a stem is disturbed, The folding can travel along the entire branch, leaf by leaf, in a visible wave. The plant can also respond to heat, wind, and changes in light intensity. Strangler fig. In forests across Florida and throughout the American tropics, this plant begins its life at the top of another tree. A bird or bat eats a fig and deposits a seed in the canopy of a host tree, often in a crack in the bark or a crevice where debris has collected. The seed germinates there, in the air, without touching the ground. The seedling begins to grow downward, sending thin roots toward the soil below. Those roots travel along the outside of the host tree's trunk, wrapping slowly around it as they descend. Over years, and then decades, more roots follow. They braid together, they thicken, they fuse. The lattice tightens around the trunk of the host tree from the outside, while the fig's canopy expands above, shading out the host's leaves below. Eventually, the host dies. Its trunk rots away inside the cage of fig roots that now surrounds it. What remains is a hollow column of interlocked roots standing on its own, with the fig growing from the top. Strangler figs produce fruit year-round, which makes them one of the most important food sources in tropical forests. During seasons, when almost nothing else is fruiting, the strangler fig feeds hundreds of species of birds, mammals, and insects. Forests that lose their strangler figs can collapse ecologically. The tree that kills its host is also the tree that holds the forest together. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, you already know what to do.